Here's everything that's going to happen in the markets this week and how that will affect your portfolio. First up, we have the consumer credit change. Now, this will show great insight into how much juice the US consumer has left and provide great insight into consumer cyclical stocks, where inflation is headed, and the US economy overall. It is backwards looking though. It's going to be for the month of September, but it's still very important. Next up, arguably the most important thing this week, the CPI report for October. Investors are expecting about an 8% increase in inflation and 6.5% in core CPI inflation. This will be extremely important for deciding where the Federal Reserve is going to be increasing rates, how long it's going to be until they start tapering that off a bit, and if Jerome Powell will take a less hawkish tone in the future. Now, I personally think that inflation will come at or above the expectation because there's not been significant signs of inflation easing. Energy prices spiked pretty heavily in October, and in general, the consumer seems to still be spending pretty heavily. If inflation comes in higher than expected, you can expect technology stocks, housing stocks, and growth stocks to all be hurt very heavily. The preliminary November Consumer Sentiment Index will be released on the 10th, and investors are expecting a slight improvement of about 60, with a 59.9 being in October. A higher consumer confidence reading could boost consumer cyclical stocks, but it could also cause the Federal Reserve to increase rates longer than the markets are expecting. On Friday, the United Kingdom is going to release their GDP numbers for the Q3 of 2022. The Bank of England currently expects the economy to have contracted by 0.5%, but it could be even worse than that due to energy prices, fiscal mismanagement, and trade issues. The UK's data will be a good indication of what to expect with other European economies, of how they're dealing with the energy crisis and the Ukraine war that's going on. Lastly, a few companies are reporting earnings. All the important ones are circled in red right now. Walt Disney will be an important report for both streaming and travel-related industries. AstraZeneca, Biotech, Activision Blizzard, DuPont, and Norwegian Cruise Line are all reporting earnings too. Well, not as important as, say, previous weeks that had big tech and very large companies. It will still provide great insight into how the economy is doing and how companies are facing economic challenges. That's all. See you next week.